here with the exception of Mr. Scott, Scottstad, and Mayor
Michael Simmons.
and Michael. We have a quorum, we do. So in quorum, we will proceed. Next item on the agenda, report of the minutes.
Good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Minutes will
Everything
stand
okay
as
with the minutes?
posted. Unfinished business, water quality testing.
Got the latest results from Comores. Everything's good.
What's the date of the latest results?
From the last June 27th.
My birthday.
Late birthday, I guess. So you can celebrate mine coming up.
I got Medicare now, baby. I'm golden.
Lifelong goal, right?
Yeah. Well, until the big beautiful bill takes it or something. But at least I got it for right this minute.
Yeah, everything is good. Testing has come back great. So continue on. The CCR reports, water quality will be coming out later this month, so you'll be getting them in the mail. So our regular billing. So CCR Consumer Conference reports.
I thought it was Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Huh?
Creedence Clearwater Revival. That's what CCR,
Yeah, CCR
is to me.
yeah. That's old school, Jim. Now you're showing your age, right? So, right. So, yeah. But
Tony's the only guy in the room who doesn't know what we're talking about.
No, it's an excellent group, though. So,
All right, anything further on water quality testing? All right, ARP discussion.
we're still on hold, and I'm going to use the money when we can. So,
Status quo.
on run, huh?
Just status quo on that.
Yep.
Update on the 5-year plan.
Nothing's changed. Mike's working on it. We're progressing along with the original plan. Got the updated version June 4th in your file, so not having any delays. Waiting for funding, waiting for approval, waiting for rate studies. So.
May I make a comment?
Sure.
Melvin, I've sensed your frustration, and you are absolutely correct. There are problems that have been in the city forever. Look at front of Vienna School, okay? I mean, it's another one of those places where every time like right now, curb to curb, okay? Luckily there, Craig's improvements have made it so it's only there for about an hour. But your comment about we seem to find money for everything else, I have to go back and tell you the same thing that people don't understand. There are separate pots of money that you have to take that funding from. You know, the general fund typically has adequate money in it that you can do these projects that you want to do. But when it comes to stormwater or it comes to water and sewer, the law is very clear. You can't commingle those funds. And so in order to do what you're asking to do, which needs to be done, there's no argument there. You know, it's one of those things where you have to make a 5-year plan where you put it in there and then Craig gets it through Mike and gets it all engineering done. But there isn't the sufficient funds in those accounts to just walk in and say, hey, we're going to drop $100,000 on 21st Street. Everybody there is going to be happy. We'll get 3 brand new homes. It just doesn't work that way. And so but people don't realize. They look around town and they say, my golly, Ned, you just spent, this amount of money on this. What a waste. Well, it's not. It's a totally different pot of money. And so Craig, am I saying it correctly?
Absolutely, 100% correct.
It's just one of those things where you do the best you can with the amount of money you can. But the problem nowadays is nothing's cheap. There is nothing that's cheap. Goodness gracious. So anyway, I just wanted you to, I know you're smart. I know you do a lot of things, but I just wanted to put that on the record that, water, sewer, stormwater, they're not the general fund. So Okay.
Yeah, Melvin, I'm not intending to make light. I'm just trying to have a good attitude about it because I know there's not, and plus, again, the big part of this for me is education. Every time we have these conversations, and so I appreciate when people come in and raise these issues, even if there's not something that can be done about it. It's educating me for the next conversation, so I appreciate that too. Well, it adds value you being here, so I appreciate it. All right, 5-year plan. You've mentioned, anything else with it?
Yep.
All right, nothing encompassing that with our dredging the pond run and the dry dams.
Mike, we got updates on that?
Yeah, we have got the drawings completed. We're going through environmental now. We still need to meet with the folks at the mall just to make sure they're aware of what we're doing and, have a plan to be able to, the dredge material, get it out of there and try not to impact them, as little as we can.
I think there's new owners of the mall now, so
I'm sorry, Craig.
I think there's new owners of the mall. It's gonna take effect, right?
Did that transpire?
Yeah.
You know that to be true? Either one of you guys? I heard somebody said there was a meeting with someone about it. I never heard that actually. Ownership of the mall changing hands. So you heard that happened?
Yeah.
Well, we're here once every couple of weeks. You're here every day, so you probably have the better scuttlebutt than we would. But that's good news. I would say.
Mike, I saw one of your Burgess and Nyepel ladies down there. She looked like she was surveying or verifying property lines or something. Where does it actually stop? I know there's a substation for the electric company down there, but how far are we actually going to go out Pond Run right there?
Yeah, it goes to, what they call it, influence of where Little Pond Run and Pond Run meet there behind the junkyard or.
And by the substation.
Yeah.
So it's
Like substation,
all the
yeah.
way down there where you and I've gone before, where the sewer pipe and.
No, not down that far.
I was
Actually,
going to
it's
say, I
back up
didn't think
further.
that was our responsibility.
There's the channel comes down past Astorg's Auto behind BW's.
Yes.
And that channel comes in and ours runs here. And that channel comes through and Pond Run runs into it. And that channel continues to flow to the High River. Ours stops right at that intersection. So it's
So
about,
when you do this and dredge it, will it kind of naturally just cut the rest of the way because of the increased flow, or is somebody going to?
it's actually
dredge it?
pretty open down the rest of the way.
I assume that's what happened.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have a choice.
Right.
All right. And so when do you think that, the setup planning and all that is going to be changing over to boots on the ground?
Yeah, I guess we just need to get, as soon as we can meet with the folks there, and we'll make sure too with Russ that we've got all the easements taken care of. And I'm sure we do, but I just want to make, double sure that we know where we can be and where we need to stay away from. I think it's just one property.
I think that when you do get that project started, maybe somebody, maybe not here, but talk to Chad about, let the folks in the city know, because this is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Getting this improvement done, and it's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
Kind of let everybody in the city know that what's going on with this. I think would be important. Anyway, okay. All right. Anything further with dredging and pond run and the dry dams? All right. We have nothing under new business. Managers report.
Been working with the state in reference to 27th Street Bridge. They're going to need some utility relocation. They've asked me if they would like for us to do design work and the build. I said yes, it would be nice. So no cost to us, but they are asking for us to make sure that we sign a contract. We're going to be responsible for the new line, which is standard format. I'll be signing the contract here. They forward it back to them. I talked to you before about Jim. I'll get it sent to Russ, make sure it's okay, and get to our insurance company knowing that, hey,
That's
we're
what
gonna
I didn't know,
design.
there's an indemnification agreement, but we need to notify our
Yeah.
insurance company when we accept indemnification agreement, especially when it's a state. But
it's standard state agreements.
Yeah.
I mean, we sign one every year, by pursue right of ways, bond issues, that kind of stuff.
yeah,
So
probably our insurance. That's the only thing I always know that
I'll
if I
get
make
you
any
them.
change or
More
accept
likely,
any new responsibility,
Legal and
I'm
Patent
telling
already
my
has a
insurance
state
company.
insured,
Yeah.
probably.
Right. So and there's relocation of the water line and sewer line that currently goes underneath that bridge. They're going to kick it out, divert it around, and tie back in the sewer, not directly straight through the bridge like its current design is. And I'm trying to talk about tying that 4-inch water main from one side of the road to the other across the bridge, same route as the sewer line, which would help us with the flow issues we're having at particular areas. But working with them, working with Bird Snipe on 12th Street Bridge, and also working on 17th Street Bridge replacement. So that one's 17th Street seemed to be pretty easy, pretty non. 12th Street's a pain, and 27th Street's a pain.
Yeah.
On those bridges, it's awesome.
So everything else is going good. We just got through the Freedom Festival. A lot of stuff going down there. It's done for the year. Heck month, I guess what you want to call it. A lot of stress on employees, but we have hired a couple additional employees past month. We're still looking for at least one more. Trying to pressure the guys to get in their CDLs. That's what I'm really short on right now. We're doing
So
some.
the CDL, you got. I mean, that's because I know that because I personally screwed it up not to get my CDL before you had to do the $5,000 class.
I actually don't. Well, actually, I'm the certified trainer for City of Vienna, so we can do our staff. We train here, and I sign off on them and they go through.
And
So
you
I
said
don't-
you're hiring?
Huh? Yeah. Yeah, I'll get you.
I
if
can
you
run a
co-
backhoe.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Kids steer, whatever you need.
I don't know if you got the qualifications. I've seen you run it. So, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
'cause
but no,
that deal,
we
that was
we,
a
we
bummer.
do our training in house, and then get the guys certified. They have to pass the written test. They have to pass the driving part outside of us. I am the certified trainer. For
So that saves you sending them to
yeah, I don't have to pay the $5,000.
truck driver school. That's cool.
which is huge.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it
'cause
is
like I
very
said,
expensive.
and it's 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think you can accelerate a little bit, but
Yeah.
that's a killer.
Yeah.
$5,000 in 5 weeks,
Yeah.
No matter
So-
what your prior experience is.
Try to pursue the guys getting their CDLs. Like I said, we're looking for them. We're going to do some changing in the structure of my department. I'm going to break some crews apart. Right now, we just kind of, all crews go here, crew go there. I'm going to make some individuals more responsible for their actions. So you'll probably see some changing the guards around. So get some little bit better workflow out of them.
All right. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. Utility board comments. Joe, you got anything?
Nothing here.
Just one. On the 12th of June, I did go to Charleston to the Municipal Water Quality Association meeting. That is a great meeting to go to. These people there, almost every large city in the state of West Virginia attends this thing and talks about the same issues that we have, okay? But there were a couple things they brought up. Right now, Shelley Moore Capito is the chairman of the EPA, and they feel that this is the time, if there are going to be any significant changes made to benefit us, that you need to get it out there now, because she's the chairman, and so hopefully they're looking for better things. They've reduced the standards back to where they were before, so. Although we, as far as I'm concerned, we exceed the standards every time, but certainly it helps when that happens. And the other thing is the MS4 permit, which has been dragging on forever. They seem to think that they've now got the language worked out on it, and it will be back, where it needs to be pretty quickly. So anyway, I did enjoy doing that, and so.
We appreciate you going down. So it's
Well,
nice to have that.
It is, because you know, if there's any issues, you find out about them ahead of time, so.
It's a good group.
Anyway, they do it quarterly, so I don't know when the next one is, August or so, or October, I think, but.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever, so I appreciate you letting me do that.
I'd like to join you if I could. So it just seems awful busy lately.
It looks like you're our whole agenda Thursday. Except for Tori and Lindsay. So my comment would be going back to Melvin's issue and this issue of stormwater. You know, if I'm correct, that not only are we having an intensification of 50-year-old problems, but we're also getting additional problems developing in the city. We're limited in the fund that we have. We've discussed, the possible, addressing water sewer. What is, and this is my ignorance, how does stormwater get funded? I know that I've heard or known, but just educate me right now in light of this. How do we fund stormwater, determine what money goes to it relative to water, sewer? How does that function?
It's on a monthly fee for the residents of $4 per resident per account, and commercial is $10 per month. We also charge the city $100,000 a year for their stormwater issues. So that's where your money's coming from.
So now that rings a bell. We talked recently about increasing the charge for a commercial, and I was like, and then once you told me what it was like much ado about nothing because it was no money, right? Probably those commercial entities really don't contribute to the problems we have in the city, so they're not causing the issues really, right? I mean, because like there's not commercial entities draining onto Melvin Street, right?
No.
Anyway,
there's commercial accounts that dump into Pond Run, and that's what we're using the funding to do Pond Run upgrades.
Okay. All right, fair enough. So, so if your crystal ball tells you that these stormwater issues are just going to continue to escalate, if you think that these water events are getting worse and that is just a function of our current climate, do you think that?
I do.
Okay. And so if that's the case, then I think that we need to consider that we're going to have to step up our game to address stormwater because it is becoming a fact of life in the city of Vienna, and therefore we need to consider it in conjunction with water and sewer, and also potentially revisit our question of, the commercial accounts and are we doing enough? Because we're never going to get there. If it's just going to get worse and we haven't been able to address it, when it wasn't as bad, what's going to change? So I'm not saying, next week we want, but I'm saying as you're thinking about these 5-year plans, and Mike, as you're thinking about the needs of the city moving forward, that this is not going to get better, and we've got to give it a little bit of long-term view. Do you have any comments on this? You guys all have a shit ton more experience than I do in these areas, but that just seems to me like, we can't just put our head in the sand because the sand ain't perking.
No, we haven't. I mean, I know that some areas haven't been addressed, but we have addressed a lot of issues, especially with our stormwater regulations about requiring commercial accounts to do retention systems. Randy's been here. We installed a great project up on 9th Avenue or 40th Street and 9th Avenue between 9th and 10th. That retention system we put in there, and them houses flooded every time it rained, and now they haven't flooded since we installed it. And it was zero.
At the bottom of the.
Yeah.
That one guy that his wife always came in the.
No, that was 49th Street.
Yeah.
Right?
Did we buy that
he's
house?
talking about 40th Street.
Yeah.
And there was a low spot there, and it's the same as Melvin's talking about. It's a low spot that
in the floodplain.
They built the neighborhood around a low spot in the area.
Bold.
It just did. And unfortunately, you can't get the water out of there because it's lower than, you have to, put the pumps in. the stormwater issue, and you talk about the commercial things. When you look at the water that's there, all of that water, when it rains, has to go somewhere. Well, the large commercial developments that we have here put out a incredible amount of water. All right. Once it hits Pond Run, everything else stops. And until all that water works its way
That was
back
my question.
to the Ohio River, there's nowhere for it to go. You can
Right.
put all the pumps you want. It's not going to go anywhere until the Ohio River can take it. And, that's the thing. And,
So we
increase-
are gonna get improvements citywide from the dredging. And-
Yes.
And so that's gonna be, I don't know how much that's gonna help you, but, so then what about, the little remediation things like you're talking about, like you might, it may not solve your problem, but it can't hurt. And when you're talking about, do we have any type of ordinance or anything about everybody just dumping their stormwater on the street versus is there any
Yes.
solution there? Like I said, I'm not offering solutions. I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, there's certain areas that you can put, your rain gardens in. Certain areas of the city it doesn't work. I mean, usually if you put them in clay, it's not going to work. But a lot of it, fortunately, City of Vienna is
I was gonna say,
the
not a lot
majority
of clay.
sand. So I encourage the especially upper part of the city, take a downspouts, put it in a rain garden, dissipates in the ground. That's less water you put in the streets. I mean, you look at a roof runoff in heavy rain. Look at downspouts. It's shooting 4 inches of water straight out, and it's flooding the streets. The project we done by my personal house and putting that rain garden in there has helped that area. I need to cut the curb a little lower. We're kind of experimental. But when we cut the curb down lower, it's going to leave out some more of that water, but that's taking that flooding out. So, retention systems, this complex here, when I designed this, when Tommy and I worked on it, you look at how much impervious area there's here. There's zero runoff to this complex. It perks in the ground or it goes in retention systems. Really, no stormwater gets into system, but actually gets past your building right down through and probably helps you out quite a bit. So, unbeknownst to you, but
Yeah, because I'm in the same situation
Right.
where I have to,
So,
I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Because when we get
If you
these
could-
big
you could-
events, I'm getting water in the warehouse where my drains are back.
imagine if I built this and did put this in, and the amount of water would be dumped across your property, and your flooding would be 10
Minimum wage
times worse.
versus the city of Vienna.
Yeah,
I
well,
get it.
I think somebody sold it to us, but
So,
so,
as is, no more.
Right, so, I don't know about that. But
Yeah, that's not an affirmative defense.
Oh, okay.
I wrote that deed. But anyway, so for example, could we offer some, and this goes back to volunteer fire, everything. We just don't have a service mentality in our communities anymore. Although I think we're small enough that we can impact that. But could you, and this last thing I'll say, I got to be honest about it, would be, could we offer an incentive? Say, if you put in a rain garden, if stormwater is what, $4 a month, you said?
Yeah.
Put in a rain garden and, and we'll abate your stormwater fee for 6 months. I mean,
actually, it's actually in the ordinance that you don't take the street, but
that what?
it's in the ordinance that houses and things don't take a street unless there's no other option. But there is incentives to be put in for commercials. Okay. You can
Okay.
install a rain garden or retention systems, and you get reduction in fees. Right now, the fee's $10 a month. They can care less.
Exactly.
But there is like the Family Dollar on Grand Central. They installed one. Didn't have to. The bank down on 12th Street has one installed. They didn't have to. Washington Central Credit Union also has one installed. So the car wash has installed one. Out front, you see that ditch. That's just not just a ditch to keep people running on the Grand Central. That is a retention system.
Right.
So the new commercial accounts are installing these, which is helping out. Okay, but once we get that rate study or rate applied to the commercial accounts, it's going to go from $10, say $100 a month. Then people that have that infrastructure are going to get discount rate. So in the long run, they're going to save money by putting these systems in, which we all want. Okay, so you look at the development of 41st Street, the school. We all know that they're moving the school to on top of the hill, WP or W, right, whatever it's called, Innovation Drive. If the city does acquire that school, old Vienna school, that parking lot and that field next door, my vision is to get a substantial rain system or rain retention system over there and relieve all that water off 41st Street and possibly do away with that lift station, which
It
is,
would be significantly
yeah.
cheaper to put one in right there because
yeah,
no concrete to remove. You
I
just
know.
dig a pipeline, bury a
All
tank in
sand.
there and done.
We're great. Do away with that lift station.
Oh, boy.
So
You
does,
know.
when you do a retention system like that, does that compromise the usability of the surface?
I know you can have it. Most of the parking lots, like the Walmart stuff, have it built underneath there. You don't even see them.
That's what I thought.
They're underneath
Yeah,
parking
so
lots.
I have to believe, especially if you have vacant lots, that you would have at least some ability to remediate. And I realize, well, like I said,
Yeah.
it's not my business to tell you what to do, but again, this is just trying to understand. Yeah, because, I mean, I just think at some point it's got to get on our radar that we need to take a little bit of a multifaceted approach, both incentives for people to do their own remediation. I don't, it's, I mean, we got what, 35% of our homeowners in Vienna are senior citizens.
Right.
So very few of them are going to take up these projects. But what that also tells you is that, you're going to have this turnover in these neighborhoods. That's going to happen, right? And at a pretty good clip in Vienna. I just think that all in all, on a number of different levels, Vienna's got a lot of opportunity right now, both stuff we have discussed, in council and everywhere else, but also some of these kind of under the radar dynamics of age of our population. That's going to turn over. That creates opportunity for us to try to recruit younger families. So, like I said, I think, childcare is one of the big ones. The economic development, the cultural development, the Spencer's Landing, all of these things. And maybe could we possibly say, probably not, but when you sell a house, could we say that when that property turns over, you've got to upgrade, you've got to comply with the ordinance that says you can't dump your stormwater on the street. I mean, that would be a perfect time, and that might be a stupid idea, right?
Yeah.
But if you said you cannot transfer a deed in the city of Vienna and not be in compliance with the ordinance to eliminate your stormwater running right out on the street.
Some areas that doesn't work. Okay, so like I said, in clay
Right.
structure, it's not going to work. Sandy and loamy material will absolutely work, but in clay areas, you're not going to be able to do that.
Well, obviously, Russ has always can put in caveat language that, if feasible, right?
Yes.
I just, but it's those incremental improvements because we're going to, if we agree there's going to be incremental worsening of this problem, we have to take incremental steps to try to address it. And those, commercial, maybe $100 isn't enough in light of what, see, Melvin, see everything you did? I mean, that's why it's good to come to these meetings. Anyway, so that's all. I just,
Yeah, but
I think
wait a minute.
all right, it's all your fault, Melvin.
Oh, yeah. This is like a double-edged sword right here, okay? Because Melvin's a developer. He builds things for a living, all right? And so you want to have people come in and develop new homes, new neighborhoods, because that's what brings families in. However, when we went to North Dakota, when all of that, oil and gas expansion was exploding, all right, they have impact fees. And so if you want to go in and you want to build a subdivision, you will provide money for a new school. You will provide money for this, for that. Because if you want to develop a new neighborhood, as a developer, it's on you to provide the services. Because once you do that, then the city maintains them. But if you want to develop like 30 homes or something, then you have impact fees. That's what you're talking about right there.
Did you bring your checkbook?
When you want Melvin to build 3 new homes on 21st Street, you're going to charge him an impact fee for saying, hey, your 3 homes are going to increase the amount of stormwater that we have, the number of fire calls we're going to get. That's just part of the deal right there. And so you look
You're
at
probably going to have cats.
well, impact fees. But anyway, that's the bottom line is If you want to come into town and make money off of the houses that you build or the apartments that you build, you have to contribute towards the services that are obviously going to be increased.
I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Okay, so
Hey,
Can you hold this for me over there so I can read it?
I know. Well, to try to put it on your tablet so you can blow it up. So Melvin, what you're saying is Melvin, he's got 2 more houses to build, so he just has $50,000 per house and puts a new lift station in. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
Melvin won't like that. Melvin won't like that. He'll pay you in 50 years, $10 a month for the next 50 years. But seriously, that's how that works when you start those impact fees. Because if you want to do this, you have to contribute. And then obviously, Craig, it would be up to you to maintain that stuff. But
Yeah, they do impact fees and water and sewer everywhere. So it's, you build a house, it's additional demand on your water and on your sewer system. So
Sure.
it's an impact fee.
I think I'm going to get a little more concrete and say, I think in light of this discussion and looking at our 5-year plan, I think we need to revisit. Is there anything else we can do? Very concretely, specifically, if we have an ordinance that says that you need to do that, I mean, when Henry says, well, don't have an ordinance if you don't enforce it, I don't know about shoveling sidewalks. That's just not a thing anymore. It used to be everybody they'd be shamed to death, right? If their sidewalk wasn't shoveled. It ain't like that anymore. But this is more tangible than that, and it affects, more. I think that we could revisit the issue of, is the increase for the commercial fees enough in light of what we're dealing with? And I think the second thing is, what should we do to try to get better compliance with the ordinance to cut back stormwater that's emptying on the streets? And is there anything else that is right there that's within our ability to deal with right now that we should be considering, with respect to managing stormwater in the city of Vienna?
The ordinance is pretty well written. All that we're referring to is already there. The rate study, the rate increase on commercials, anything it's holding, we've held back on. Reference to discharge on the streets or discharge of any commercial property is already in place.
Well, what's the enforcement mechanism?
We set at 1 acre. We can always reduce that down to half an acre if you wish. To anything commercial about more than a half an acre, you can require they to do the full retention system. Ours is actually current on 1 acre. Housing downspouts is a kind of it doesn't work every time. And,
Right. But
we don't want to flood basements out. We don't want to cause problems. But if it's feasible, we require to do it.
What's the enforcement mechanism? Do you have anybody on your crew that even looks at that? I'd say no.
No, I do. I do.
You have somebody?
I do, and myself and Mr. Brian Rader.
Yeah. So I don't know that's the last best use of your time unless it's an issue that is this feasible. That might be
That's
your
the first
call.
time I ever heard a council person say something like that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I know. I value your time and your expertise, and and if
Randy
it's not
just
something you need to
kept
be doing,
piling
you
on,
need
so
to
you talking
delegate.
about Mike?
Yeah, Mike could
Have
ask
you
that.
ever
Now him,
Have you ever seen the presentation?
he's an
Mike
engineer.
makes? They're
That's a
great.
bottom feeder. The the Craig Metz of the world, the way to get it done, he just gets his bills. I think we really do need to at least take those two concrete steps of.
I think the first step you ought to do is reference it. I know that we was pretty strict on stormwater when we first started, and the state went up to the 1 acre thing. I think the commercial should be reduced back down to the half acre or certain square footage.
I think we nominate Tammy as our stormwater commissioner. Right? I mean, she goes and finds shit.
Yeah.
Okay, well I do. Okay, so that's all I got. Like I said, I gotta get. But any other comments? Sorry about the big. But I think it's important. I'm sorry. One more thing. Because I want to compare this to like the light ordinance, and stuff like that, where I say this is unenforceable, unduly burdensome, doesn't advance the interests of the city when you look at doing stuff like that, because there's some things that just, that supply and demand take care of, and it runs it off. But this is not like that.
No.
And so I just,
I agree.
this is something that,
We all drive to Columbus, right? If you look around any place in Columbus, you'll see little retention ponds everywhere. Every little,
not that hard, especially when you got a vacant lot.
yeah. And it allows that green space. I mean, you meet two criteria in one, more or less. So like around the college, Marietta College, they have little rain gardens everywhere around that place.
I
You just
wonder
don't
if
even
there would
see
be
it.
any grant money to help people, especially when it's a bigger, well, that's the stormwater commissioner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
New the appointed stormwater commissioner.
All right, anything else?
Craig, I had a chance last night to go up to McDonough Park and look at the restroom.
Yeah.
I know that doesn't deal with the utility board and what have you, but you wear so many hats. That turned out nice.
It is.
Okay.
Tommy and I worked on that. Tommy did design a drawing on that. We picked up the colors and stuff. Yeah, they're going to be pouring concrete hopefully again next week. Finish that project up and done. So that epoxy flooring out was a big push for that. I think it turned out beautiful. Handicap accessible for them restrooms and stainless steel dividers. It's a very maintenance free. Best we can design it.
I don't know what the cost savings was, but I know it was significant.
Half.
Not getting a new building, so.
So there's some water issues up there come off there. We actually made a little rain garden retention system, diversion ditch up top to keep the water coming in the bathroom. But yeah, they done a nice job. A lot of snakes in that thing. And it was just, I know when we opened up the center divider wall, there was always snake skins in there. That's not where they lived. Actually, they was living in the walls. When they cut the bottom of the plywood or the sheeting from the outside to get that up, keep out the water damage from it, snakes are just falling out of that building. So shouldn't say that.
They must have told you about that, because I know you wouldn't have stayed around.
Yeah, well, what the problem is, the guy turned him loose. And,
Yeah.
I told him, I said, you turn another snake loose in the fire. I mean, he's not even my employee, but he's a harbor. I told him I'd fire him. So, it's black snakes. I don't fine, but they was.
Yeah, I don't let my
all
guys
them little
go in
holes
with
are sealed
operators.
off. So.
Not allowed to kill blacksmith.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Snakes are snakes.
Yeah. Call them peace snakes. Pieces when I get older.
Gross.
Okay.
All right,
There you go.